Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, what are companion videos? I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we take the second half of the show to take live questions from the audience. However, we don't always have time to get through all the live questions that get sent in, but if those questions get sent in, I want to make sure they get answered properly in a video, so we gather up those unused questions and we address them here on companion videos. So, let's not waste any time and start getting caught up. And we're going to start getting caught up by going over to a question sent in by Simon, who writes, during this time of crisis, seriously, can I get a virtual bro hug from you and Rob? Because I love you guys as a brother, because this is a time that I feel that differences should be set aside. And you know, one of the great things, you know, I'm always talking about on the show about the wonderful thing about movies and the movie fan community is that it gives us an oasis from a lot of the stuff going on. I feel like right now that's kind of even more important than ever before. So it's always great. I know I myself personally, just as a content creator, I look forward every day during this whole lockdown nonsense. I look forward every day just to being able to do the show and interact with the other film fans in the world, my fellow film fans. And that's one of the great experiences of it. So I'm glad that we're able to be here. I'm glad you guys are there as well. And yeah. May movies reign. All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Simon. All right, next up, Anthony Lucalano writes, the next two classics I haven't previously seen before that I'm planning on watching are Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid and The Sting. Two classics, Paul Newman, Robert Redford, things like that. I am actually, I think personally, in the minority when it comes to my friends. Most of my friends, I think, out of these two, outrageously wonderful films, and everybody likes them, but most of my friends prefer Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's certainly probably the more iconic film. It is certainly probably the most iconic film, but for me, out of the two, it's The Sting. I always go back to The Sting. I just love that film, even just a little bit more than Butch Cassidy. All right, next up, Nick C. writes, hey, John, I rewatched Up a few weeks ago for the first time since it came out, and I'm 26 now, and really fell in love with it, especially the first scene, which hit me so much harder than it did my younger self. Since it jumped up to be my favorite Pixar film. I looked up reviews for the movie to see what others thought. Lo and behold, I saw a video created by you. Everything you said was spot on, especially the part about rewatchability as we age. When was the last time you watched it, and how did it age? Well, I'm telling you, I watched Up again, which is just, listen, when you're talking about openings to films, like the first, I can't even remember how long it was, 10, 15 minutes of the film. It's one of the best ever. Like, as far as just the openings go, that opening sequence, that first 10, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, however long it ended up being, is like one of the best openings in cinematic history. Like, not just animated history. I mean, like cinematic history. I watched Up again probably about 2 years ago. Two and a half years ago was probably the last time I watched it, if I'm remembering correctly. And it holds up just as well. And you know what? You'd be forgiven to only think about that opening. But really, the whole movie is wonderful. You know, the whole movie is wonderful. It's delightful. And by the end of it, your heart is just full. And it's just really one of those films that kind of embodies the type of films that Pixar makes and the kind of magic that Pixar can produce. Now, it's not even my favorite Pixar film, but it's just what maybe the best example of what a Pixar film is and what they can accomplish with them. And I absolutely love it. I'm glad you had a chance to revisit it. All right. Ben Rayner writes, love the color tint on your end. Orange yesterday, blue today, very sci-fi. So I don't have it on right now, but what I've started doing is, I've been wanting to do it forever, is actually light my background, right? I've actually wanted to light my background independently from me being lit, which is what we have right now. Just the background is being lit with me. And I've always wanted to do it where I lit it independently. And I finally got around to getting the light gear that I needed to do it. And I don't know if it's just because it's different. I really like the effect. So 2 days ago on the John Campea Show, we had like kind of the red background. Today I had kind of more of the blue background. I really like it personally. I mean, it doesn't make the show any better, but I just like it visually. It makes me stand out a little bit more from the background. And that's always a good thing. So yeah, I'm glad you liked it too, Ben. I'm glad you liked it too. Okay, Ryan writes, I'm with Rob in avoiding sitcoms. I watched a video of The Big Bang Theory without the laugh track and realized how much sitcoms rely on forced/suggested humor. It should be a natural reaction to well-written script as opposed to being told when to laugh. Well, I can't disagree with you. However, there are sitcoms in the past that have used that very, very well. Now, listen, I'll tell you right now, I'm actually not a Big Bang Theory fan. I'm not. I've watched about 3 or 4 episodes of it. And to me, it just feels like people who don't really understand geek culture desperately trying to write as if they understood geek culture. At least that's just the way it struck me. I mean, I find the show kind of sad, but I gotta be careful saying that because like a lot of my best friends love Big Bang Theory. I actually had friends of mine asking, they were trying to arrange a trip down to LA from Canada. And they're like desperate, like the number one thing they want to do. Is there any way we can visit the set of Big Bang Theory if we come down? Like that's the number one thing they want to do. They want to see the Hollywood sign. They didn't want to see the Man's Chinese Theater. They didn't want to see, the Dolby Theater where the Oscars are held. Now they wanted to go see where Big Bang is. So a lot of my friends love that show. I'm not big on it, but I would contend that there are a lot of sitcoms. I would say the best of the last number of years don't have laugh tracks. When you're talking about, we just talked about The Office the other day, celebrating its 15th anniversary. No fake studio audience stuff, no laugh track. Parks and Rec, I think is one of the best sitcoms ever. I mean, I love that. I think that's a tragically underrated show. That show's amazing. No sitcom, no laugh track, no anything like that. One of the more highly successful when it comes to award season sitcoms in the last number of years, Modern Family. No laugh track, no thing. So a lot of the best sitcoms actually don't use that. Some of them still do, but a lot of the best ones don't. So anyway, so I see where you're coming from, but don't think all sitcoms are like that because the best ones aren't actually. All right. Anthony Manzano writes, hey Rob, if you enjoy glory movies, watch The Rainmaker. Do you mean the Francis Ford Coppola, if we're talking about the same one? Francis Ford Coppola did one with Matt Damon, John Voight. Who else was in that? Was that Danny DeVito? I think it was Danny DeVito. And actually, that's not a bad movie either. But you might be talking about a completely different Rainmaker that is going completely over my head. But if it's the Rainmaker I'm thinking of, I'm sure. Actually, I would be shocked if Rob didn't actually own a Blu-ray of it. I'd be almost certain. If it's the same one I'm thinking of, he probably almost certainly owns a Blu-ray of it. All right. Jesse writes, in defense of Batman vs. Superman, I think it might be the most visually stunning comic book movie. It looks like a graphic novel jumped right onto the screen. I don't know if I would say that. I mean, I am a Batman vs. Superman defender. I like Batman vs. Superman. I mean, it has its problems. I don't deny that it has its problems, but I quite unabashedly, unapologetically, I defend that movie. I like that movie. I think there have been a number of other comic book movies that may have been a little bit better visually. Like, I would even say, like, it's not even the best visually in the DCEU. Like, I would maybe even go Man of Steel. Like, when you just look at the composition and the visuals in that movie, I think it might even be one step up. But Zack Snyder, love him or hate him, Zack Snyder is an incredibly gifted visual storyteller. He's really fabulous. He's even got this one movie you've heard me talk about called Sucker Punch. I'm not a fan of the movie, but if you put that movie on mute, it's just gorgeous to look at. I mean, Zack Snyder has a very unique gift in his visual storytelling that really does come across very well. All right. Ian Simon writes, hey, John and Rob, love the show. Thank you so much, Ian. I just wanted to say that I was recently gifted the original Star Wars trilogy on VHS. I still have a VHS copy. It's back at the parents' place, but I've got a VHS copy of the original trilogy. And it forced, no pun intended, me to go out and buy a VHS player from Goodwill. How often do you guys pop in and watch a VHS? Oh, it's been a long time. It has been a long, long time since I popped into VHS. As a matter of fact, the only time in my life I've had my car broken into, this is going back 15 years. I was working at a CGI visual effects company. Maybe not quite 15, but I was working at a visual effects CGI company. And we were working on a movie project, on a feature film. And we were basically working 24/7. Like we were sleeping in the offices, we were doing all that kind of stuff. Anyway, while we were working on that, we also got another client, and it was a smaller project. It was a commercial project. And part of what we needed to do for that commercial project was pull some footage off of some old VHS tapes. Well, none of us had a VHS player. So I had to go to a pawn shop in town that day and buy, like for 10, 15 bucks, I bought a VHS player that I could then bring back to the studio, transfer the footage off that, and then use it in this commercial we were working on. So I left it in my car, got back inside, kept working with everybody, and then around 1 or 2 in the morning, we decided we needed a 7-Eleven run. We needed to run to 7-Eleven, pick up some snacks, pick up a Slurpee, whatever. And we went outside and realized my car had been broken into. It's the first time it's ever been broken into. So the only thing that was taken was the VHS player. There was a $15 at most VHS player sitting in the back seat of my car. They broke it cost me about $400 to get the window replaced. They busted in the window to get it. I kid you not, from that day on, I don't lock the doors of my cars. I don't lock my car's door. If somebody wants to get into my car, they're going to get into my car. I would rather them get into my car and steal the $1 breath mint candy case or the $10 t-shirt that's in the backseat of my car than have them break a $300 window or more in order to get at it. I would just rather them undamage my car, get in my car and take what they're going to take. And you know what's funny? I've never once had my car broken into. Not once since that day, that last day that I locked the doors of my car. That was the last day I've ever had anything taken out of my car. And so, I don't know. If somebody wants to get into my car, they're going to get into my car. I would just rather them open the door and do it rather than break my window and, take something that's worth $50 and leave me with a $350 bill to replace my window. But maybe that's not the right way to think about it. Maybe it's not, but it is the way I think about it. It's very Canadian of me. Anyway, so no, not often. I think that was the last time I used a VHS player, to be honest with you. All right. Attic Hatch Sound writes, odds of a 2020 or even 2021 writer strike. I mean, it's there. There's been talks about it, but honestly, I think small. We are still not far removed from the last writer's strike. Nobody wants a repeat of that. So I think one way or another, cooler heads will prevail. So I'm going to guess no, but listen, I'm not in the writers union. I don't really know how heated things are getting. I just got to imagine nobody wants a repeat of what we had happen a few years ago. So I'm going to guess pretty low. I'm going to guess low, but we'll see. Adam Churchetto writes, Cineplex has been doing concession delivery for a while now. One up for Cineplex. I was saying earlier, man, because I've had a few viewers telling me that their movie theater chains around them will actually deliver movie theater concession stand snacks to your house, including popcorn. And that got me all excited. So if you're telling me Cineplex, well then yes, I have soured on Cineplex. That's the big Canadian movie theater chain that I used to love passionately. And now I have a lot of disdain for them as a company. But I'll tell you what, if they do that, then that is one up for them. Hey, give credit where it's due. If they're doing that and I still lived in Canada, I would be ordering some of that popcorn. I totally would. All right. An anonymous viewer writes, just rewatched Moana. Oh, I love Moana. And inspired me to make my top 5 animated films. No order: Lion King, Hercules, Into the Spider-Verse, Toy Story 3, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Pained me to leave out Coco, which is so good, and Moana, which is so good. 2010's maybe the greatest decade for animated film. A lot of good ones. I'll tell you what, Moana to me, it looked like, and I totally shouldn't doubt Disney animation, but it looked like, frankly, a throwaway movie. It really did. Nothing in the trailers made me think this is going to be special. It just had the novelty that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was doing the voice. And then they released the music clip before the movie came out. They released the music clip of "You're Welcome." What can I say? You're welcome. Anyway, I'm gonna need that boat. I love the song. I'm thinking, okay, I want to see this. That movie is so charming. I love Moana. And I'll tell you what, I'm not afraid to tell you this. I've got several playlists, but I've got like kind of one main playlist on my phone. I use Google Music as my thing, and in my main playlist, my main thumbs up playlist, I got about 45 songs in there. It's not a ton. I just have about 45 songs on there. One of the songs on that playlist is, I can't remember the actual name of the song, but it's the song from Moana where she sings, there's a line where the sky meets the sea and it calls me. Oh, I get chills hearing that song. I get chills hearing that song. I love that song. I love that movie. It's awesome. And Coco is also fabulous. All right, let's see. Jake Iyer writes, are you watching Westworld Season 3? I have loved it so far. Long live physical media. I have not started watching Westworld Season 3 yet. I kind of mentioned earlier, I kind of gave up on Westworld. I thought Season 1 was okay. A couple of exceptional episodes, but overall okay. Enough that I thought, okay, I'll watch Season 2. And by the end of Season 2, I'm like, tap out. I'm done. It doesn't suck, but I'm over it. I'm not getting anything out of this show. So I decided I'm not watching Season 3. And then the trailer for Season 3 comes out and I'm like, holy crap, I got to watch this. So I am planning on giving Westworld Season 3 a shot. I just haven't had a chance to get to it yet, but I definitely am planning on giving it a shot. All right. Dodger Ryan 124 writes, hello, John. If you like a good Lord of the Rings game, you should play Middle-earth Shadows of War. If you like Diablo, you will love this. Now, is that at all similar to Shadows of Mordor? Because I gave that one a bit of a shot, and that one seemed really good. But I'm not familiar with Shadows of War. You know what? I don't normally do this. Let me bring something up here. Lord of the Rings, Shadows of War. Okay. Let's see here. Middle Earth. Oh, it's called Middle Earth Shadows of Shadow, which you said that. You said Middle Earth Shadows of War. It's got a 93% Google rating. It's got a 9 out of 10 Steam rating. I'll tell you what, I'm going to check out this game when we're done. I am going to check out this game when we're done because I love a good middle, like Lord of the Rings thing, so maybe I'll check that out. Thank you for the recommendation, Dodger. I appreciate that, man. All right. Jonah writes, John, you're right. Maybe Justice League was well marketed in your territory. I know what we're talking about. So a little bit earlier on the John Campea Show, Jonah had written in and said that marketing was a problem for Batman versus Superman because he didn't even know it was coming out. And so Rob and I talked about that, and I said, well, maybe it was just a matter of, because I know in the States it was marketed pretty heavily, and I said, maybe it's just a difference with territories. So Jonah's following up on that and saying, maybe it was Justice League was well marketed in your territory, but not here in Australia. That's why I felt weak marketing. I remember the day you uploaded your review back in 2017, and I was like, this movie is out? Okay, and that's true, right? Because they will employ a different marketing strategy in every territory. So the marketing strategy in North America will be different than their marketing strategy in the UK or in Asia or in Australia or wherever, right? So yeah, that might have been what the culprit was there, because I know that here there was a lot of marketing for the movie. Like everywhere I went, there were billboards and TV spots and trailers playing. So I definitely saw a lot, but just because that was that way here doesn't mean it was the same thing where you were living in Australia. Anyway, good observation, Jonah. All right, next up. Jonah also writes, why does every article I read and YouTube video I watch say Justice League bombed, but you, John, say it underperformed? Is this a false memory? I don't know why. Here's the thing. People misuse, just like people misuse the word literally, people misuse the phrase bombed. They misuse the phrase. Bombed suggests that the movie lost the studio tons of money, that the movie straight up lost money. Justice League didn't lose money. It was not a big success, but it didn't lose money. It, at the very minimum, creeped over the breaking even line. It broke even. And when a movie breaks even or exceeds, even if it's by $1 or by $1 million, you can't say it flopped. You can't say it bombed. It didn't bomb. Did they lose money? No. Then it didn't bomb. I mean, you can say bomb. You can say it all you want. It doesn't make it true. The movie did not bomb. It actually broke even and made a little bit of money. Not much, and nowhere near as much as it should have. That's why the proper phrasing of that should be underperformed. It underperformed because Justice League was a movie that coulda, shoulda, woulda been potentially a $2 billion film. I'm not saying it was a lock to be a $2 billion, but it had the potential to be not a $1, but a $2 billion film. If you go back 7 years and said 7 years from now, we're going to have a Justice League movie. Yeah, you and understand that by that time, we're going to have 4 or 5 members of the $2 billion club. Yeah, Justice League, especially if you've got like an Avengers movie breaking $2 billion, a Justice League movie should have the potential for that. Doesn't have to hit 2 billion, but it should have made $1 billion in its sleep. In its sleep, without even trying, it should have made $1 billion. And nothing became more of a kind of canary in a bird cage, if you know what that saying means, than as far as the status and the current condition and the health of the DCU and the status of the DCU than that Justice League movie. Because making $600+ million, while it definitely is not a bomb and it is not a flop, it underperformed and has to be considered a disappointment. But there's a difference between that and a flop or a bomb or something like that, because it most certainly did not. It did at least break even. All right. Deadlock Music writes, "Hey, John, longtime fan. Thank you so much. Superman is too big to keep off the big screen. While Warner Brothers decides if they're keeping Henry or not, why don't they give us a Superboy in the Legion? No, because nobody wants it. Nobody wants it. I mean, obviously, I say that in hyperbole because clearly you do, and I'm sure there would be some other people that do. No, I don't believe there's any interest. I believe there would be very, very little interest outside of the geek community, amongst the average movie-going audience, which represents 90% of the moviegoers. I believe there would be very, very little interest in that. Now, that being said, it's not impossible, right? We have seen Stranger Things. I mean, look, I say all the time, if you can take a Lego movie, really a movie about plastic building blocks, if you can take that and make it great and make it successful, well, then hell, you can do it with anything else. That doesn't mean everything's got the same equal chance of being successful, right? Some things have a high chance of being successful. Some things have a low chance of being successful. Everything's got a chance. But I believe a Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes, I mean, that would be better suited, I think, to a straight-to-home video, cartoon than it would be for a thing. So the reason they wouldn't do that is because they don't want to lose a lot of money, and they would lose a lot of money. So that's just my take on it. That's just my take on it. But again, you never know. Crazier things have happened. All right. Next one up comes to us from Andres Moran, who writes, "Hey, John, have you seen Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?" No, I have not watched that. Zoe suffers an accident and now hears the inner thoughts as musicals, and it's available on Hulu. So yeah, I remember seeing the first previews for this. So some girl, it's kind of like, in a sense, what women want or what men want, where something happens to this character and now they can hear the thoughts of other people. This is different. They can sense the thoughts and emotions of other people through musical numbers. It's creative. It's a creative idea. Now remember, I've not even seen a single episode, so I can't say a disparaging word about it. All I can tell you is that the series, the marketing did nothing for me. It actually turned me off. It did not only did it fail to get me excited, it actually took me from zero, because we all start at zero, right? So it took me from zero, and the question of marketing is how far up does it bump your excitement? It actually made me less than zero. So I knew nothing about it, watched the trailer, and I knew I don't want to watch that. Again, I'm not saying the show isn't great, because I haven't seen it myself. I can't say the show's not great. I don't know. All I know is that from the marketing, it didn't look like it was something for me. But clearly, it works for you, Andres. And if you're enjoying it, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. But it just doesn't look like something I'd be interested in. So that's why I kind of skipped it. All right. Roman Lopez writes, "Hey, John, I love the show since the AMC days." Thank you so much, Roman. I appreciate that. "Will you please do more play-in chats? Also, this is a great time to master PS4. Just saying, I doubt I'm going to be mastering PS4 anytime soon. But yes, I probably will be doing more play-in chats. So this past weekend, we did a couple where I played some Diablo 3. I might even do a little plane chat playing some Animal Crossing. I never would have thought I'd ever hear myself say those words. But I might actually do a little plane chat while playing Animal Crossing for a couple of reasons. One, I cannot believe how addictive that game is because I just watched Ann playing it. I played it for 5 minutes the other day. And I was starting to get why people really enjoy it, but my wife is like completely addicted to it. I've got buddies of mine that I play in role-playing game groups with that are psychotically addicted to that game. And one of the things that I thought is, maybe I should give it a try because a lot of people are liking this game. But the other thing is, it's the type of game where it's really easy to pause for a moment and answer a question. On some games I play plane chats on, I have to finish a round of something for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then I can stop and take a question. With something like Animal Crossing, you can really literally stop anytime you like and answer a question, then keep playing for a minute or two and stop anytime you want. I mean, it's a very low pressure game. But anyway, I will be doing some more plane chats, probably doing some online poker, probably doing whatever. But yeah, I'll probably do some more of those. So thank you for that, Roman. I appreciate that. All right. Logan Tyson sends in a $50 tip. Thank you so much, Logan. Now listen, when people send in support of like $50 or more, I like to honor that by not only answering the question here on the show that I'm doing, but I also make it a standalone video on its own and put it up on the YouTube channel. So keep your eyes open for that, Logan. Give me a week or two and you'll see yours pop up on the front page of the YouTube channel as well. But anyway, let's get to your question. Logan writes, "Good day, John. I'm in the Army." Well, thank you for your service, brother. But when I get out, I plan to study film and journalism. Excellent. As an aspiring filmmaker / journalist, I want your opinion on what the future is for the next generation of journalists and what your advice on getting into this field. All right. So one thing I should say here is this. Understand something very carefully. I am not a journalist. All right. I'm very careful. Like, when somebody asks me, like say one of my mom's friends or an aunt or something like that, I'll maybe use the term I'm a movie journalist or whatever, because I don't know how else to explain to them what I do without confusing them. So I'll say that. But the reality is I am no journalist. And I've had arguments with fellow film pundits online who would refer to themselves as journalists. And I'm sorry, dude, you're not a journalist. Yes, I am. No, you're not. You don't research stories for 3 or 4 months and then write an expose on it and blah, blah, blah. You have no idea what real journalists do. You aggregate news that other people do and break and blah, blah. Well, I break stories. Now you get a phone call from somebody about breaking news that everybody else is going to find out about, whether you tell them or not, in the next 2 or 3 weeks anyway. So no, that's not journalism, bro. That's not journalism. Anyway. So I am no journalist. That's why whenever you hear me online, and I have a huge amount of respect for journalists, but I consider myself something different. Not better, not worse. I'm just something different. I consider myself a pundit. I'm an analyst. I'm a pundit. I'm an analyst. That's what I am. And I have a huge amount of respect for actual journalists and journalism. I never studied journalism. I studied law and theology. Figure that out. So those are the things I studied in school. I studied theology and I studied law. Anyway, that aside. So if you're talking about getting into real journalism, like New York Times kind of journalism, like Hollywood, even for entertainment, Hollywood Reporter kind of journalism, then you're doing the absolute right thing. You're going to study journalism. That is the absolute number one prerequisite you have to do. Go and study journalism. If what you're talking about is like more stuff like what I do, which is, online punditry and stuff like that, the best thing I can do is say there is a 2-hour video I made 5 or 6 years ago, but it's still completely relevant. I will update it at some point. It's basically called Getting Started in YouTubing, Blogging, and Podcasting. And if you just search YouTube for John Campea Getting Started, just go into YouTube, search John Campea Getting Started. It'll be the first thing that comes up. And I kind of lay it all out in there. My best advice for getting going in podcasting, blogging, YouTubing. I give some practical advice about what gear you should use for all of them, work habits you should have, philosophies you should have, all that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of that in there. Now, when I go into your own standalone video, I'll go a little bit more into depth than that. But again, if you're talking about journalism, go study journalism just like you're planning. That's the right thing to do because that's different from what I do. If you're talking more generally like online punditry, then go check out that video. I think you'll find some useful tips in there. At least I hope that you do. And again, man, thank you for your service and best of luck when you get started in this new journey of yours. That's awesome. All right. Next up, Not Kevin Feige writes, recommendation. Michael Mann's Manhunter, often overlooked due to its being overshadowed by the Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, I remember one of the things I remember most about that, because a long time ago when I was younger, I used to get a kick out of watching CSI. I mean, everybody watched CSI for a certain period of time. And the dude from CSI, Preston, it's either Will Preston, Will Peters, Will Peterson, Will something or other. I think it's Will Peterson, but it might be Preston, whatever. He was the lead guy in CSI. And he's done other things since, but that's what he's mostly known for. But he was the lead guy in that. And I think the killer he was after was like the Tooth Fairy. Didn't they call the killer the Tooth Fairy in that? Anyway, it's like it's a mid 80s movie, and it is really good. It is really good. That is actually a nice, I don't know if it's on the same level as Silence of the Lambs. So I don't think just being overshadowed by Silence of the Lambs is why it's not as well known, but it is a solid little film. And I think that's a great recommendation. Not Kevin Feige. Thank you for sharing it. All right. Next up, The Nerd Errant writes, the Beyond Thunderdome joke. Oh, because you're right. Can't we just all get Beyond Thunderdome? That's something they wrote in a little bit earlier, which is really funny. Is from Mystery Science 3000. I didn't know that. The episode where they watched Laser Blast. This is my recommendation to watch. You can see it on YouTube, shoutfactorytv.com, and Netflix. This includes the revival seasons. Mystery Science 3000. Okay, to be honest, Mystery Science Theater 3000 can be a little hit and miss, but they're more hit than miss. And when they hit, they're hilarious. So I have not seen that particular one. At least I don't recognize it. Maybe I saw it and I don't know what the title is, but I don't recognize the title. So I will have to check that one out at some point. So thanks for sharing that, Nerd Errant. All right. Next up, Zayin writes, hey, John, I'm the one who asked about the P.T. Anderson movies. Oh, excellent. Sorry if you couldn't read and understand it properly. Hey, that happens sometimes. Don't worry about it. I was trying to make it short. Anyways, just saw Magnolia for the first time and I really like it. What are your thoughts on it? Thank you a lot. I loved Magnolia, as a matter of fact. Hold on a second. Let me bring it up here because I cannot remember who directed it. It was from 1999. Hold on a second. Or 2000, something like that. Magnolia, IMDb. It was 1999. Listen to this cast. Listen to this cast that it had, because it was packed. This was 20 years ago, and it was packed even by today's standards. Listen to these names. Patton Oswalt. Sorry, their thing is out of order. They don't have their thing in order of the people of importance. So anyway, Oswald. Where is Holly Hunter, Thomas Jane, Tom Cruise, which I believe Tom Cruise got an Academy Award nomination for this movie. I'll look that up to double check that in just a second, but I'm pretty sure he got an Academy Award nomination for it. William H. Macy, Veronica Hart, just Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, where the Alfred Molina, who I love, he's amazing. Felicity Huffman, who is now in jail, I think. I honestly think so. Luis Guzman, who pops up in absolutely everything. Clark Gregg, of course, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that kind of stuff. It's a wonderful film. Now, let me just go and double check this, because I'm pretty sure this is the movie that Tom Cruise got one of his Academy Award nominations for. And yes, it had 3 Academy Award nominations. It was nominated didn't get a Best Picture nomination, but it was nominated for Best Music, Best Screenplay for Paul Thomas Anderson, and indeed, Best Actor in a Supporting Role by Tom Cruise. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's only got 2 Academy Award nominations. That was one of them. I think the other one was Born on the 4th of July, but let me just check it up. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. He was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. I forgot about. Rob would be so disappointed that I forgot about this one. So he was nominated for Magnolia, and he was nominated for Best Leading Actor in Born on the 4th of July, but he was also nominated for Best Lead Actor in Jerry Maguire. Rob would be very disappointed in me that I forgot about Jerry Maguire. But anyway, Magnolia was one of them, and it's a great one. It's absolutely a great one. All right, all the other questions, and we do have a few more here on the list, but all the other ones that come after this were actually submitted after the show today ended. So those questions are meant for tomorrow's show. So we'll get to those questions on tomorrow's show. So that will do it for us, guys, for this installment of the companion videos. We're now all caught up on the questions of this morning's show. Big thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but number two, you supported the channel while you were doing it, and all of us here on the John Campea YouTube channel, thank you very much for that. Anyway, guys, don't forget to join us tomorrow for the John Campea Show. Me and I think it's going to be Aaron. I think Aaron Cummings is going to be on the show with me tomorrow. Rob will be back again on Friday as we talk about a whole bunch of things. I've already got a few things listed up that we're going to talk about. Make sure you're here for that as well. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.